Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTG Traders. My name is Taryn and this is Naya Energy. So we've been going over a bunch of different decks for the past couple weeks, but I haven't really hit any energy decks recently, and I kind of wanted to hit a pummeler energy kind of deck, but it's actually a pummeler deck in Game 2, not Game 1. But of course, before I get into the video, make sure to hit the like on the video if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure to hit the bell right beside the subscription button to get notifications on when we upload a new video on the channel and when we go live on the stream right here on YouTube. But without further ado, let's get right into it. At the 2 mana drop, we have 4 Aether Geode Miner, a 3/1 Dwarf Scout. Whenever Aether Geode Miner attacks, you get 2 energy. You can pay to exile the miner and then return it to the battlefield under your control. Originally, I had a Glory Bound Initiate in this section here, but I did like the Aether Geode Miner because it does give us energy when it attacks out, so that can give us energy for a Long Tusk Cub that's in the deck, or maybe the Pummeler in Game 2. It's also a great way to kind of avoid some combat damage and actually block a larger creature and also exile it again to either A, not lose board state, and B, not lose life overall. Aether Geode Miner is just one of those interesting white cards that I think is an inclusion, and a great inclusion indeed, in this deck. Moving up, we have 4 Long Tusk Cub. You know it's an energy deck, you know Long Tusk Cub is going to be in here. A 2 mana 2/2 cat. Of course, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy, and you can pay 2 and put a +1/+1 counter on the Cub. Of course, Attune with Aether and the Miner here that we just talked about, as well as the Cub itself, gives itself energy and able to be a 3/3, 4/4, 5/5 over and over again throughout the match. Long Tusk Cub is probably one of the most hated energy cards in the decks right now that run energy, besides Attune with Aether most likely, but it is a fantastic inclusion here for us in the Naya build. Next up, we have 4 Servant of the Conduit. Servant of the Conduit is a 2 mana 2/2. It enters the battlefield, we get 2 energy. Of course, we can pay and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is a great way to get a Glory Bringer in the deck, or a Bristling Hydra, which is also in the deck that we'll talk about in just a minute. But also the 2 energy can be used for the Long Tusk Cub if we need it in a pinch. So creating a 2/2 bear for 2 is actually not too terrible, since it does give us 2 energy as well. And it can be a way to tap for some mana if needed. Next up, we have 4 Voltaic Brawler, a red and green 3/2 human warrior. Whenever it enters the battlefield, we get 2 energy again, and whenever it attacks, we may pay 1 energy. If we do, it gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. So a 3/2 attacking out is great, but a 4/3 attacking out is even better with trample. And again, it does give us 2 energy, so that can be for the Long Tusk Cub, can be for the Servant of the Conduit, or a Bristling Hydra in the mid to late game. As you can see, our 2-drop slot is completely packed with bombs, and they're all very, very good in the early, mid, and even late game. But moving on to the upper echelon of creatures, we have 3 Bristling Hydra, a 4 mana 4/3 Hydra. When it enters the battlefield, we get 3 energy, and we can pay 3 energy, put a +1/+1 counter on the Hydra. It gains hexproof until end of turn. So the Hydra is actually fantastic for us against an anti-removal strategy, or anything where we know that our opponent's going to have removal in their hand when we play out the Hydra. Of course, because all the other creatures give us energy as well, Bristling Hydra is going to enter the battlefield, and we're probably going to have at least more than 3 energy for the Hydra to give it hexproof as soon as it enters the battlefield, because a lot of players like to kill the Hydra when the battlefield ability is on the stack. So we do want to make sure it does survive for that. But Bristling Hydra isn't the only bomb in the deck. We have 3 Glory Bringer, a 5 mana 4/4 dragon flyer with haste, and of course we can exert the Glory Bringer, and it deals 4 damage to target non-dragon creature in opponent control. So while the Glory Bringer doesn't give us energy, Glory Bringer is a fantastic and brutal way to come back from a top deck completely and win the match out. Glory Bringer is just one of those cards that if you actually have it on turn 4 with a Servant of the Conduit, or you have it in the mid to late game where you really need it from a top deck, Glory Bringer just wins you the match outright. But again, one of the best ways to get this out is a turn 4 Servant of the Conduit. Just so devastating. But that is it for creatures. We have 22 in the deck. Let's go on to spells here. We have 4 Attune with Aether. You know it's in here. It's also an energy card. It gives us 2 energy, but we can also search for a basic land, reveal it, put it into our hand, and shuffle our library. We have 7 basic lands in the actual main board here with 3 Evolving Wilds. So Attune with Aether and the Evolving Wilds are really going to help us kind of thin our deck really quickly from basic lands, as well as just regular lands from the Evolving Wilds. So Attune with Aether is going to be great for us for getting lands, but also for getting that energy, because a turn 1 Attune into a turn 2 Long Tusk is just super powerful for us, and it means we're going to be ahead the entire match. Next up, we have 3 Blossoming Defense, a 1 mana instant. Target creature you control get +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Blossoming Defense is again a very powerful card for us because it does have us evade removal, and it can make sure that we can actually trade with a larger creature. Attacking out with a Glory Bringer to another Glory Bringer blocking, a Blossoming Defense is going to help trade to make that difference a lot better in our favor. Overall though, Blossoming Defense is just an early game advantage card with a Long Tusk Cub on the field. And next up, we have 4 of Harness Lightning. Again, this is an energy deck, so Harness Lightning is going to be in here. A total 4 of a 2-mana instant, choose target creature. You get 3 energy. Then you may pay any amount of 1 energy. Harness Lightning deals that much damage to that creature. So one of the best things about Harness Lightning is that if you have a lot of energy on this deck, you can actually pay more than 3 energy. You can pay 4, 5, 6, 7. You can kill a Scarab God, kill a Glorybringer, and so on. But also, if you just need to do 1 point of damage, you actually contain 2 energy yourself, so you actually get 2 energy on the stack regardless, which is a fantastic way to spend on either a Servant of the Conduit, a Glorybringer, a Long Tusk Cub, or an Aether Geode Miner. Harness Lightning is just super versatile for us in this deck. And the last 3 cards in the deck, we have 3 Ixalan's Binding. So Cast Out could be here, but I wanted to use Ixalan's Binding in the matchup here because I did like it a little bit better against certain situations where they tap out completely for a control matchup with a Scarab God, or let's say they tap out for a Planeswalker. We get Ixalan's Binding and shut down their strategy completely. Because of course, Ixalan's Binding means your opponent can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card once we exile it with Ixalan's Binding. But that is the full main board of actual spells. Let's go over the lands here. We have 4 Aether Hub. Again, 4 Aether Hub come in, gives us 1 energy, and we can pay 1 energy and tap it for any mana of any color, so that's fantastic for us. Then we have 4 Inspiring Bandage. This is a fast land for us, so would really like to get this in the early game if we need it for a Voltaic Brawler or an Aether Geode Miner. Next up, we have 4 Rootbound Crag, a buddy land that comes in tapped unless we control a forest or a mountain. Then we have 3 Evolving Wilds just to hunt our basic lands. Then 2 Scavenger Grounds because Godfarrow's gift decks are actually coming back in full force, and we really need some of that graveyard removal. But after that, we have 2 Forest, 3 Mountain, and of course 2 Plains. And that is a full 60. The first game 1 game plan is to basically overpower our opponent as quickly as we can with the energy we have on the stack. Of course, we may not be able to do that in the game 1, so let's see what we can do in the sideboard here. The sideboard is actually not meant to definitely beat against like counter decks or something like that, but it is something that I really like, and I think it's a lot of fun. This is one of the first like transformative sideboards that I've ever done on the actual channel, and I'd love to show it to you today. First up, we have 2 Abrade, a 2-mana instant, deals 3 damage to our creature, and we can actually destroy target artifact, so that's a great way to kill the monument, a great way to kill the Godfarrow's gift strategy, and a great way to just kill an artifact, as well as just do 3 damage to a creature if we needed to do that as well. Next up, we have 3 Fling, because this is a transformative sideboard. This is actually a Pummeler sideboard here for us, so 3 Fling are in here for that Pummeler sacrifice trigger. Next up, we have 4 Larger Than Life, 2 mana sorcery, target creature gets +4/+4 and gains trample up to end of turn. Again, this is for the Pummeler here. And then we have 4 Electrostatic Pummeler, a 3-mana 1/1 construct. When it enters the battlefield, we get 3 energy. And of course, we can pay 3 energy and give it +X/+X, where X is its power. So basically doubling it over and over again, then using Fling to fling it, or either using Larger Than Life, doubling, and then attacking in for trample damage. The reason we don't want this in the game 1 game plan is that if our opponent kind of figures out our deck on game 1 and tries to kind of board in some removal on game 2 against what they think we have, in game 2 we'll bring in the Pummeler and kind of saying, okay, well we're now a completely different deck and we're kind of going towards a different way. But the 2 last cards in the sideboard for us, we have 2 Settle the Wreckage. It's a 4-mana instant, and of course it exiles attacking creatures target player controls, and they search their library for lands. But that is the full 75. On MTG Traders, this is coming to a really decent 40 tickets. But in game 1, of course, we want to be super powerful, super fast with Long Tusk Cub, Aether Geode Miner, Voltaic Brawler, play some Glorybringers out in Hydras, get in for some damage, and in game 2, maybe boarding out the Glorybringers, putting in some Electrostatic Pummelers, taking out some bindings and defenses, putting in some Flings and Larger Than Lives, things like that to see if we want to, making sure we can kind of mismatch our sideboard into our deck to have the Electrostatic Pummeler play in game 2 if we want to. Of course, if our opponent does figure out our game 2 strategy, we can always board that back out again and go a super aggro strategy again. But that is it, guys. Let me know what you think. I really like the transformative sideboard here for us. I think it's a lot of fun, but of course, let me know what your thoughts are. Leave a comment below, and of course, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.